Welcome back on Guard Army. Today I am going to be going over a list that I don't think very many people are talking about right now. Gouging+Fire. Gouging+Fire is a Pokemon that comes out in the Temporal Forces set, and it has the massive attack Explosive Fire that does 260 damage for 2 fire and a colorless. This plus Sada plus Magma Basin means you can set this up in a single turn and swing for 260 on turn 1, which is absolutely insane. So that's entirely what we are basing our deck around. This reminds me a lot of Charizard back in the Unbroken Bonds format, where you would just be able to welder, attach, and double blaze for 200 on turn 1. This has a very similar vibe to it. But this is the list that we are going with right now, so let's go through each piece one at a time. To start, we have the Gouging+Fire. It's got 230 health. It has a basic 2 energy attack that does 60 damage. This can be nice against 1 prize attackers that you may want to just be like, or soften something up for 60 before swinging with Explosive Fire for 260. It does have the clause, this Pokemon can't use Explosive Fire again until it leaves the active spot, which is different than the, this Pokemon can't use this attack on the next turn, comparatively to things like Miraidon or other attacks that can't be used consecutively. This one physically has to leave the active. It can't, like, wait in between a turn and then swing with Explosive Fire again. It has to go back to the bench before going back up to the active to be able to swing again. So we are going to be facilitating that with some switching effects and some pivot options as well. We also have 1 Entei V. You might want to up this to 2. I'm going with 1 for now with a Hisuian Heavy Ball. But the fleet-footed ability is nice. While it's in the active, you get to draw a card. You can also go Magma Basin attach onto this, and it's a good mid-range attack that hits between that 260 and, like, the lower end of, like, Moltres for 90. Burning Rondo does 20 plus 20 more damage for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, so it depends on how many Pokemon your opponent has benched, but most of the time we'll have a full bench just due to all of the support that we are going to be playing throughout the game. Then we have the 1 Moltres. This one has Inferno Wings. It does 20 damage plus 70 more damage if this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, so if you Magma Basin onto this, you get to swing for 90 because it's doing 20 to you from the Magma Basin itself. Then we have Iron+Leaves+ex. I know this may be weird in a fire deck, but Iron Leaves is insane, even alongside ancient Pokemon. Sada might not be able to accelerate directly onto this, but with Rapid Vernier, once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may switch it into the active and move as many energy as you want to it. Which means you can Sada 2 grass onto the field, and then either Magma Basin or attach, play this down, and then move those energy up to Iron Leaves. This is a great one-of tech which will help significantly in the Charizard matchup, but also the 180 or even 220 with the Future Booster Energy Capsule, or, 200 with Future Booster Energy Capsule, or 220 with a ping from Valiant as well. You can reach some good numbers with this. Honestly, it's a solid attacker in and of itself. Prismatic Edge does 180, and then during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. Similar to something like Miraidon. Except this one, if it waited in the active for a turn, the following turn you could actually use Prismatic Edge again. Then we have 2 Iron Valiant EX. This has the ability Tachyon Bits. When it goes from the bench to the active, it does 2 damage counters to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Wherever you want to put it, it can go on their bench, it can go on their active. It's great for modifying damage. This is our main pivot option throughout the game, so we can go Switch Cart into this, ping something, Magma Basin onto bench Gouging+Fire. Absolutely great for getting set up and for reaching those higher numbers. This plus the 260 means we're hitting 280 consistently, which is perfect numbers for Arceus and Giratina, both of which are going to be seeing more play post-rotation as well. Then we have Mew EX, another free retreat pivot, which is great. It also has restart, so anytime our hand is low, we can draw until we have 3 cards in hand. Once per turn, but it's still good draw. And having a, like, pivot option like that that doesn't require Future Booster Energy Capsule in order to retreat is great for also being able to facilitate our Gouging+Fire plays. Then we have Squawkabilly EX. The ability Squawk and Seize is great for getting set up in the early game. During our first turn, we may discard our hand and draw 6 cards. Motivate is also not a terrible attack. If you go second and kind of whiff that knockout, you could poke something for 20 and then attach 2 to a Gouging Fire. You could more easily set up like double Gouging Fire with this. It's not going to be the best attack in the world to swing with, obviously, but it is an attack that can be helpful in a pinch. Then we've got Lumineon V. When you play this onto your bench, you get to search your deck for a supporter card. This can be the boss to gust up something crucial on their bench. This can be the Sada to accelerate energy to your Gouging Fires to be able to swing at them. Or it can be Iono if we want to disrupt their hand a little bit. Then we've got Radiant Greninja. We want a way to be able to facilitate getting energy into our discard pile so we can Sada. Concealed cards is the best way to do that, and it's extra card draw as well. It's also a one prizer, so like, if someone wants to prize map effectively, this can be something that we could potentially buy a turn with, but that's not the main reason it's in here, obviously. Then we've got 4 Professor Sada's Vitality. This is basically a mixture of like Welder and Melanie. You accelerate to 2 of your ancient Pokemon, attaching any color basic energy to them from your discard pile to each of them, and then draw 3 cards. So, say you have 2 Gouging Fire in play and 2 Fire in discard, you can Professor Sada's, etc., accelerate 2 Fire, 1 to each of them, and then draw 3 cards. You can do that and then Magma Basin and then attach, so you're swinging for 260, and then you already have a Gouging Fire that has an energy on it for the next turn if your other one has gotten KO'd. So you don't even necessarily need to Sada back to back, but hitting that first Sada is super important in this deck. We've got the 2 Iono for being able to disrupt our opponent's hand, shuffle hand, put it on the bottom of your deck, draw as many cards as you have prizes, your opponent does the same. It's great for disruption, and since we have Mew, it's not going to hurt us too much in the late game, because even if we're at, like, 1 prize remaining, we could Iono and then draw more cards with Restart. So this is great for actually playing down our hand for our restart to be able to make some extra card draw happen as well. Then we've got 2 Boss. This will be to be able to pull up any of our opponent's Pokemon. Say they've got, like, a setup Pokemon on their bench that they've just been trying to set up for like a turn. You could boss it up, KO it, remove all of that energy that they've been trying to set up from play, and you're sitting in a better position for it. Then we've got 4 Nest Ball for being able to get our basics down. We're not actually playing any evolutions. This is a big basic deck. So this is going to be our main way of getting our basics down. But Ultra Ball is also another way that we can search out any of our Pokemon, which also is a good energy discarder. We can pitch energies with this to be able to Sada or Magma Basin. And it's also great for actually putting Lumineon and Iron Leaves into our hand, so we can play them down for their on-play effect, like Rapid Vernier or Luminous Sign to be able to search for a supporter. Then we've got Hisuian Heavy Ball. We have a lot of one-ofs in this deck, so wanting to be able to see our prizes and grab one from there is very good. Having a Hisuian Heavy Ball is great. We could theoretically cut this for 2nd Entei or 4th Gouging Fire. Like, there's definitely a lot of wiggle room in this list, but we're having it kind of teched out for now because it has a lot of options, and I like decks with a lot of options. Then we've got 4 Switch Cart. We get to switch our Pokemon around, and we can also heal a bit of damage in this way. Theoretically, if we Magma Basin onto something, we can also get the damage off of that with Switch Cart. So we could Magma Basin onto the bench, retreat into it, Switch Cart into another one, and swing with that kind of thing. Switch Cart is great for being able to move around our board, and being able to shore up some of that damage spread that may happen to us. Like, for example, if a Cram swings at us, we can now get out of, like, 2-shot range from, like, Lost Mine with Switch Cart. Switch Cart's an absolutely fantastic card for just shoring up math in games, and just moving us in and out so we can streamline Gouging Fire attacks a little bit easier. Then we've got 4 Trekking Shoes. Our deck wants to go super fast, so we want to thin our deck as much as possible. Trekking Shoes gives us that little bit of extra card draw while also being able to pitch energies in the process. This will let us get to our Sadas very, very quickly. Then we've got 3 Earthen Vessel. We can discard a card from our hand and search our deck for 2 basic energy cards. This is great for being able to get them into our hand, and then we can pitch them with, like, Greninja, Ultra Ball, or Squawkabilly. This also gets us specifically the energy we need, so sometimes we may want Fire to be able to Magma Basin, but other times we may want the Grass so we can Sada 2 Grass onto the field, so we can play the Iron Leaves and get an Iron Leaves knockout. Earthen Vessel is absolutely great for being able to get our energy out and onto the field as quickly as possible. Then we've got 1 Super Rod. We've got a lot of 1-ofs, so we want to be able to reuse a lot of them throughout the game. Super Rod is great for being able to manage both our Pokemon and our energy. Then we've got Prime+Catcher, the new Ace spec. Theoretically, this could also be Maximum Belt. Maximum Belt lets our Gouging+Fire deal 260 plus the 20 from Iron Valiant's ping, plus 50 more, you're hitting 330, so you're hitting Zard knockouts with that. We have Iron Leaves right now, so that's why I'm opting for Prime+Catcher over that. Prime+Catcher and just being able to pull up, like, their 2-prizers and knock them out, like, one at a time is super good. It also being a switching effect that allows us to facilitate our Iron Valiant pings is super good as well, which is why we're opting for Prime+Catcher in this particular list. Then we've got Future Booster Energy Capsule. This gives our future Pokemon free retreat. This not only gives our Iron Valiant free retreat, but it also gives our Iron Leaves free retreat and boosts its damage by 20. This can actually be a damage modifier, specifically on the Iron Leaves, just because we can actually swing with that in this deck. Then we've got 2 Forest Seal Stone. Since we have an Entei and a Lumineon, it's nice to just have a card that can literally search our deck for any card. This is also another reason why I'm considering a second Entei in the build, because 2 Entei means another Forest Seal Stone target, meaning it'll be easier to actually use Star Alchemy throughout a game. Then we've got 4 Magma Basin. We want to see this basin turn 1 every game, so we can set up and swing for 260 on turn 1. Magma Basin is one of the most important cards in the deck. I would never be playing less than 4 in a deck like this. This card is absolutely insane. Being able to accelerate a fire from a stadium, you don't even need to play like an item or anything. It could theoretically just stay in play and you could just consistently get energy onto the field. Plus, it facilitates the Moltres damaging itself, so we have a 1-prize attacker that swings for a good amount of damage. Magma Basin is insane. Just the fact that you can bump other people's stadiums and accelerate energy with it, crazy. So, Magma Basin is here. It will always accelerate to our Enteis, our Moltres, and our Gouging+Fire to be able to facilitate our attacks throughout the game. Then we have 7 Fire Energy. We want more Fire Energy because we want to be able to use Magma Basin in addition to Sada. The Sada can accelerate... Sorry. The Sada can accelerate any energy, whereas the Magma Basin has to accelerate fire, so we've opted for more fire than any other type of energy. Then we also have 3 Grass to be able to pull off the Iron Leaves attack. We can search these out with Earthen Vessel, so it's not too bad that we only have 3, and we're playing 3 just in case we prize 1. And that's the list. This definitely can be, like, moved around a little bit. The list is super flexible. You can move things around. You could cut a Trekking Shoes, you could cut the Heavy Ball, you could add 4th Gouging+Fire, you could add 2nd Entei, you could add a Flutter Mane, you could even try and, like, work in some other counts of energies and other ancient Pokemon. You could play maybe, like, a Baby Koraidon. You could play Maximum Belt. There's a ton of different things you could do. You could play Ancient Booster Energy Capsule to boost your health up to 290. There's so many options for this deck, but this is the list that I am on currently. So let me know how you like this list in the comments, what you personally might change about it, other lists that you might want me to cover in the future, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch you all later.